The stews from the street vendors, especially the Amelias and the Hajias, they have this unique and delicious taste that some Ghanaians have concluded that it has to be the Gata effect. That is because some of them sell it by the roadside, which is usually by the Gata. And so they say if it is not by the Gata, then it is not delicious. In today's video, I share with you this stew that I believe is going to compete with your favorite street vendor. Okay, so I've already shared a video of Jamaican oxtail recipe, and then I took out all the skin. So this is the skin from the oxtail and it has some meat as well. Then I'm adding beef, then I'll add my spice blend. I'm adding, being generous with the onions, okay. I'll also add in all my homemade spices. I have recipes of them, you can check it out. Then I added some salt. I'm adding a little bit of water because I would need a stock of this, okay. And the oxtail is also hard, so it would take some time to cook. So every now and then I just come in and stir it just to make sure that I'm moving it around and every part of the meat is getting all the spices. Now I have these tomatoes that is in my freezer. I took it out and I'm also adding some carrots. This you will not find in your Amelia's recipe. So I added the tomatoes basically because it was frozen, so you don't have to go through this process, okay? And so yeah, at this point it was soft and tender, and the meat, the beef part of it was also good. Okay, so I'll be taking that out and I'll leave the carrot and the oxtail to cook further. So once the carrots also softens up, I'll add that to it. Now this is fresh tomatoes. This one is not frozen, so I'm going to add that to the one that had softened up nicely. I also added some scotch bonnet pepper, some garlic, and ginger. I'll now go ahead and take out the carrots because at this time or at this point the carrot is nice and soft, and I love adding carrot to my stews. And if I use it to blend my tomatoes too, it blends so smooth. So that is what has also been encouraging me to add carrots to my stuff. Okay, so I'll just leave the oxtail, the skin to still continue cooking because that is hard, and then I'll go ahead and fry the beef itself. So there was an oxtail, the skin of an oxtail with some meat on it, and then the beef. So now I'm just frying the beef until it is nice and golden brown. My name is Sianoki. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Once it is nicely fried, I'll just take everything out and set it aside. We'll be adding this back to the stew later, but for now, we'll just take it out and set it aside. One secret to the street side stew is the use of onions, and lots of onions. So I used onions and I'm also using some spring onions, okay. And so yeah, I'll be frying that. Initially I just covered it so that it can fry nicely. You want the flavors to be enhanced in this, and the longer you fry them, the flavorful they get, okay. But make sure you don't burn them, so just when they're about to brown. Now I'm still adding in some more onions. These were onions that I had blended because they were going bad and I didn't want them to go bad, so I put them in my ice cube containers and kept them in my freezer, okay. So I added more of that. So this lots and lots of onions. I'm also throwing in some bay leaves. I should have added the bay leaves to the meat when I was steaming it. I forgot, so I decided to add it at this point. I'll go ahead and add in my tomato paste, and then I will fry this in the oil. Okay, I will fry it for a couple of minutes before we continue the cooking process. So at this point, you can see the oil forming on top of this stew. You can notice the difference on when I I added it immediately and how it's looking now. So take your time to fry this, okay, until maybe you see some color change. Now the tomato mix that I blended, I'm adding that to it at this point. I'll wash out my blender, add that to it, and then I'll add the skin of the oxtail that had been cooking. Okay, I'll add that to the stew. I'll leave some of the stock. Okay, I'll leave the stock. Basically, I was just taking out the oxtail and it came along with some of the stock. Now I'll add in some water and then cover this under low heat and be stirring from time to time. This can take over an hour and a half. For you to make this stew, you need to be patient, just like the oxtail stew recipe, and the results will amaze you. I cooked the oxtail for 3 good hours under low heat and it came out perfect. And so that is the mindset and strategy that you need to have. So when this was almost like, yeah, it was almost good, I brought in the stock from the meat, added in some, just a little water to rinse, and then I'll cover this and let it continue to cook under low heat. Now these are my spices. I have some calabash nutmeg, grains of celery, thyme, aniseed, and black pepper. And this is also going to bring out that taste, that authentic zongo taste, okay, from your stew. So I just toasted it for a little to activate the oil and enhance the flavor. And then I came in with a whole tablespoon of that. I added some shrimp powder. I'm also grating some nutmeg, so you can imagine the flavors that work here. Now at this point, I'm going to add the beef that we fried earlier. This beef, it was nicely fried, it was so brown, so I'm going to add it at this point, and the stew is going to soak up. The stew is going to soften up, it's going to melt in your mouth. Oh my god, this was a good one. So for some extra flavor, adding the scotch bonnet at this time, it's not just for the heat, okay, it's for that flavor. It leaves your stew smelling absolutely divine, and you can see at this point how tender and this beef had been. This video may be less than 10 minutes, but trust me, it was over almost 2 hours, going to the 3 hours, because it's under low heat, okay, and then you are stirring it from time to time, and so the flavors are being enhanced. And at this point, you can see the color change, and you need the oil for the zongo stew. You need the oil to fry this, okay. But once you are done, you can skim all the excess oil out and use it for amazing recipes. Use it for your gari, or even use it for some quick stew. You get it? So you're not throwing that out, but you need that to fry this deliciousness. And at this point, I don't even know what to say. Just look at that. Look at the color. Just note, you, after blending all the tomatoes, add in some water, reduce the heat to the lowest, and let this fry, and you will enjoy this. Add the spices, add the local spices, and come and give me testimony. If this doesn't taste like your Amelia, or doesn't even beat your favorite Hajia or Amelia stew, just come back. I'll give you your watch time. Oh. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed making this stew, and even using this stew for jollof rice is mwah. It was I can't just have enough of it. And the meat, I see, after this recipe, I told myself I'm not going to buy Willy anymore. I'm going to get the fresh skin from the cow meat, and just look at how soft that is, and make it my way. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in another video. Stay safe and stay blessed. Bye.